I have a little bit of a soft spot for this topic on how you can be active and how you can help us continue to be what we are at Hockey Canada, and that is world leaders. We are the largest officiating body in the world of any sport. We register over 31 to 33,000 officials every year across our country. And that's that we can count. We often will educate more through our clinic situations or opportunities, but where your branches totals come in around that every year. The closest that we have in numbers is the USA, and they're right in normally around the 25 to 26,000. So we are very, very proud to continue to say that because of the size of our game and the impact of our game, officiating is a popular thing. While I'm rambling here, I've asked that if two people per table would do us a favor and go onto the iTunes store or onto the Play Store if you're on an Android, and there's a free app called Poll Everywhere. And if you wouldn't mind two people from every table downloading that, you're going to be put to test here. And I went to bed last night and I said, you know, I'm not going to bring Ray Brethauer into this conversation today, but he gave me the open window a couple seconds ago. He goes, how do I download that on a flip phone? And it's just, I said it to him back, I think a year ago in November when we were at Spring Congress, and we did a workshop with branch leaders on officiating development and officiating programming. And I used this little app in our workshop, and so I said it to him then, there is just no way that we're going to bring him up to speed in a quick order in technology. With that in mind, today is meant to be a little bit of engaging. I don't think anybody has the right answer to tell you how you can improve officiating, how you can grow your numbers, how you're going to be successful. But I tried to plant some slides together and some scenarios that we can sort of walk through together and sort of say, hey, here are some ideas, here's some of the things that we can do that maybe can continue to offer you a little bit of support back home to put an officiating program together that, you know, I was pretty proud to see happy to see what Scott showed to you last night about some of their initiatives that are coming forward with officiating. That's great. That's great that the parent body can give you that kind of support. But now, as Rick said, we're going to push some of that back down on you and ask for your assistance. So with that in mind, if you've got the app downloaded, I'm going to ask for a little bit of a straw poll. And this is a very, very large group. So this is why I've only asked for 2 phones per table, because my subscription doesn't allow for this many responses. But what I'm going to do is, if you were the people with those phones, if you're going to actually open up your screen on the Poll Everywhere, you're going to see a little opportunity for you to go, I'm participating, and then you're going to see this little screen right here. And in a second, that's where you're going to enter in some data, and it'll launch you into this poll. What I'm going to ask is a little bit about you. Who are you? And I think I asked last night, are you volunteers? Are you staff members, parents? What's your role in the game? But for this conversation, I'm going to ask, if you will, for you to go in on that screen, and up at the top you see it says respond at Poll Everywhere / and I want you to put in Todd Anderson 483. And then you should see on your screen it populate up, and it says, are you an administrator with a league or an association? Are you into the officiating world? Are you a local referee in chief? Are you a referee director or a volunteer? Or are you a referee? Are you a parent? Or are you one of those people that does it all because nobody else wants to do some of those things? Just to give us a little bit of idea of the audience in the room as we maybe attack some of these topics today. While we populate that, and it's only going to probably show about 50 responses here, even though we probably have a few more, this is a great little tool, and it's free. I'll tell you what, if you're back home and you're doing a branch forum or an open discussion at a town hall type of thing with your minor hockey groups, there's tools in here for surveys. There's tools in here for open-ended questions. So if you're doing it and people aren't wanting to put their hands up in the air and ask questions, this is a fantastic anonymous tool that you could take advantage of, and it is free. So we're heavily predominant here pretty much with either league administrators or people that have to do something in regards to officiating or handle officiating under the whole umbrella. So that's great to know, because ideally, hey, when I became an administrator, as I told you last night, I had a background in officiating. I understood the environment that I was putting myself in, so I could manage it. I can imagine some of you that didn't have a background or had no desire to have a background in officiating, am I right? You don't like those guys in zebra sweaters, do you? Hey, I can just tell, right? No. But now I got to deal with them. So I can appreciate that. So let's go through this. So that gives us a little bit of idea. Big picture scenario. And Switzerland came up with this logo, or this slogan, and it's real. There's not too many competitions in our world that don't require some sort of judge, official, a referee. I mean, bowling championships, they have somebody that's watching for violations. Golf, it's there, it's real. We need officials in our game at all levels. It's a little bit maybe harsh to say there'd be no game without them, because many times we're joking that, you know what, the game could go on. But I said last night, coaches get involved in the game, or I hope I said last night, maybe I didn't, maybe in my sleep. When I started coaching my kid, and we went to play a game that Saturday morning, and somebody said, you get to go and referee. Well, that isn't what I signed up for. I signed up to be a coach for that game. So, yeah, I can skate around and put my kids in the position that I want them to be in, but now you want me to drop the puck, call a few penalties, call offsides. That isn't what I signed up for. So that's why we need officials in the game. It's because your other volunteers, your other key people that you're training in their specific discipline, that's what they want to do. So they are a factor in our game. We do forget sometimes that they're required at all levels. Somebody is going to need to drop the puck sometimes, because that's what a real game is. There's a center ice face-off. From street hockey, we could bang the sticks. But the environment that we're expected to put on involves somebody there to drop the puck, somebody to get the puck out of the back of the net, somebody to call offside when it's blatantly offside, somebody to call that penalty that deserves to be called, even if it is in a 7-year-old hockey game. We've got some branches right now in this cross-ice environment, or half-ice hockey, that are saying, you know what, even though the traditional rink is not going to be the traditional rink, we need to put an official in that environment because it's less stressful, it's a little bit more manageable, and it gives them a sense of what the game is about. Fantastic. So we're even putting them into the half-ice environment just to give them the exposure. We tend to forget that officials in a general concept start at the lower levels of play. And that's just natural. When we went to swimming lessons, we had to start here. When we went to play golf, we went to the easier courses. We didn't go to Augusta. When we start to drive, we have, maybe a short distance in a comfortable neighborhood, less cars on the road, hopefully. And we were carefully guided into the environment that we were in. Officials are the same. They need somewhere to start. And oftentimes it's at the lower levels. This is my favorite statement. Officials practice where they play. On an average, when I coached, we would have 2 practices per week, maybe got lucky and had a third. We could run drills, we could move pylons, we had contact time to develop skill. Officials don't have that. We put them through a crash course, generally in a weekend, oftentimes before October 15th, and we sit them in a room maybe about half the size of this, and we deliver the rule book and expect them to know everything. Now, my pizza friend, how are you? Good? Looking forward to lunch? Yeah. It's leftover pizza. I told you to have that extra slice last night, didn't I? Hey? So, do you go to school?
Yeah.
How many hours a day do you sit in the classroom?
7.
Honestly? Dad's behind you, isn't he? Maybe not all 7 every day?
No.
Oh, okay. But now we send them to a referee clinic, and we're putting them back into a lecture type situation. And so we're trying to say, hey, we're going to get you to referee, and we're going to give you the rule book to learn, and that rule book is fairly thick. We're going to tell you how to stand, how to position yourself, what to do, and then we're going to take some money from it because, hey, registration fees are important. And then what we do is we turn around and say, you are now a referee. Sad part is you may not go out and referee your first game for 3 weeks, maybe a month, depending on where you live, depending on when the league starts, after evaluations. We put them in a position where we've educated them, but we haven't worked with them. We haven't really given them in-game experience. We haven't given them the tools necessarily to be successful. When you got that brand new set of golf clubs, do you go to the driving range to test those babies out a little bit? You do. With referees, they get their first experience generally in a pressure situation in a game that matters to who? To the players, and certainly to the, as Rick said, the parents in the game. So we put them in a little bit of a trial, learn by fire a little bit, put them right into the heat and say, go and be a referee. They might only get 1 game a week, maybe, in some local associations. That's not very much practice. I'm not good at golf because I don't do it enough. Who's a golfer in the room? How many rounds do you play in a year? 30. There's kids in our game that don't play or don't referee 30 games. How can you expect them to get better if you don't give them opportunities to go and learn? I give our Hockey Network app a heck of a lot of credit because it loads coaches and players and parents with skill development and variations and opportunities to enhance their skills. We'd love to do that with officials, but officiating is somewhat of taking an opportunity to be involved in the game and learn from it. We can do a lot of book work, we can show a lot of video, we can do those kind of things. But in-job experience, on-the-job experience is really where they learn. They're in those situations, how to react. We need to remember that. Some unique ideas. If you're holding tryouts, and in our local association, when I got involved, I made a point of saying, you know what? We hold evaluations, and we hold scrimmages during those evaluations to evaluate the players in gameplay. Well, why don't we put some referees on the ice to go out and we're not expecting a lot from them. We're not in a true, real pressure competitive game, but it gives them the opportunity to go out, go through the motions, get a sense of how to be involved in a game, where to stand, what to do. It took off. It cost our association a little bit of money because you should pay the kids for their time. It helped our environment in another way. It helped our environment with our parents because that offside that was a foot offside and a goal scored on my kid who's a goalie should have been called because I know that goal is going to cost my kid team 2. So what we did is we put referees on the ice and we said, hey, now we have sort of a game environment. Somebody's going to call it. Relax their stress level a little bit. So give them opportunities to learn their craft. Give them the chance to learn and experiment a little bit and grow. And we forget that. And every time I say that, they practice where the other kids or where the kids in our game play. It's important to keep reminding yourself of that. This one's really true. Most of our kids, and you'll see this in a stat here in a second, they are barely above the age that they're officiating at. So when I started, and I started at 12, I got to go out and work 8-year-old hockey. 4 years is a big number for some, but it's really not, because I'm still a kid. I'm not wise in the game at 12. I'm not knowledgeable. I'm not maybe any good. I'm in a really unique situation. I'm not much different than the players that are playing the game. And again, simple message, one that we have to keep reminding our environment. If we want success, and this will come up in a bit, if we want success with continuing to keep officials and grow officiating, you need to keep reminding the group that you're with that these are the kind of principles that they've got to not necessarily accept, but understand and be aware of. They require the coaching. And I'm going to probably try and remember to bring this up a little bit later. But I brought it up a few seconds ago. We are very, very good at the front end of officiating. We will gladly register them, put them through a clinic, and get them to the point where we say you have a Hockey Manitoba crest, you have a Hockey Canada patch to put on, you've got a rule book, you know what to go and buy for equipment, we'll be in touch. We don't do a real good job of going out afterwards and working with them in their formative steps and learning the game. To find somebody in your organization to go and watch the Bantam AAA game, the Junior A game, the elite levels, you want to volunteer to go out and watch that caliber and that referee and work with them? Absolutely. No-brainer. To find them to go out and work that house league game and watch and work with the young officials at 7:30 on a Saturday morning, gets a little bit tougher. But that's where you need it. That's where you need your people to work with the kids that you've put into the game. Because to that 7:30 parent sitting watching their child, that is their game. That is their top level. So they would like to know that the people that you're putting in to officiate that game have the support and the mentorship. And that's so important. We're in Manitoba here, and I know gardens aren't maybe the number one thing right now, crops are. To me, this is simple too. In order to be successful and have a good crop, you've got to make sure that you prepare your field. You've got to get ready for seeding. Same thing with you and your associations. As you begin the year and you start to plan about what you're going to do for the player, what you're going to do for your coach education, you need to find some time to carve out and say, what are we going to do for that other third party in our game, and that's the Stripes. Take a moment to say, who's going to look after clinics? Who's going to maybe take a role and be somebody that can be that mentor? Never mind the assigner, but who's going to maybe take an active role to make sure that the officials, once they come out of that clinic, have got some guidance, some leadership, and some support. I was very fortunate. When I got on our Minor Hockey Association, I said, yes, I've got officiating background, absolutely, but that's not why I'm here. I actually was a coach coordinator. So I wanted a little bit away from the Stripes, and I wanted to be involved in coach education. But I found somebody who said, you know what? I can't coach. I can barely skate. I'm organized. I'm at the rinks anyway. You know what? I think I can help you out. My God, he was the best thing we ever had. He said, I'm going to make sure that the kids are aware of when they're going to get their games. I'm going to make sure I'm going to show up at the rinks. I'm going to make sure that they have some support. He got so immersed in this, he went and took the clinic with them. He says, I've never refereed before. So he got right into it. That's the kind of people that you want to find. If you are one of those do-it-all type of people, look for somebody a little bit outside the box. It doesn't have to be somebody with officiating background. It could be somebody, because you're giving them a smaller portfolio to work with, truthfully. Let them have some pride. Put some money into it. Set aside. And when you saw that slide last night that Hockey Manitoba is putting some money into officiating at the grassroots level, take that money and don't use it for game fees. Use it for mentorship. Use it for coaching. We tried to say, hey, we're going to have a pizza party. So we've got my pizza boy. I know he loves pizza. So we've sent him to a clinic. But you know what? He's only worked 1 or 2 games. Now is the time we want to bring him back into a room. We want to bring him back into a situation where we can go, hey, you took your clinic. Now you've gone out and skated a few games. What do you like about it? What are you good at? What aren't you sure about? Because I'm going to bet the amount of information that those young officials or those new officials get, they don't absorb it all. Last night, information and understanding whether or not it's properly communicated and absorbed. It's a lot to learn. That game is quick, even at that level. There's a lot to know. So that's where you want that opportunity to bring them back in. If you want success, you've got to invest in what you're trying to achieve. So you plant the seeds, you get them involved, you've got to water them, you've got to give them some sort of juice. If you want them to be around to work the tournament games, the championship games, if you want them around after Christmas, you better do something with them at the beginning part of the year to make them feel that this is something worthwhile. Not only them though, because here I was, and I was lucky. My dad put me in, and I had a short distance to go to the rink. If I wanted more games, which I did, a coach from the next neighboring area of ours, he arranged he'd come and pick me up. My dad was real happy about that. He goes, really? I don't have to drive you to the rink over 10 minutes away? This guy's going to drive out of his way, pick you up, take you, you're going to work his game, he's going to pay you, and oh, by the way, probably a good chance of McDonald's on the way home. No responsibility on his part. But to the parent that you have now got that kid, their kid involved in officiating, they want to know that you're willing to invest and look after them a little bit too. Because they, a lot of the times, have paid for the clinic, they've paid for the equipment, and maybe are going to the rink and driving them and getting them there so they can perform for you. So now, show them. Give them something to show that you're investing in officiating. Continue it. Let's say we've had our initial meeting, but then don't let them go. You've got to give them, again, a little bit of a boost through the year. If you want officials to continue and do a good job, you got to show a little bit of care. If we just give birth to our kids and then say, we'll see you at your wedding, without doing the kind of things that we do as parents, this is no different. You've got to invest in it. You give them that TLC. I'll guarantee you this. You take a little bit to put some structure in your organization and show a little bit of care, you're going to see some benefits out of this. I'm fortunate because I knew all of this as a parent because of my background. So as I said last night, 3 boys in the game. They all played. Two of them took up officiating. 2 of them still officiate and well past their playing years. To me, that's because of these kind of steps. This quote or this book is a good one. The Talent Code by Danielle Coyle. Greatness is not born, it's growing. If you want good officiating, if you want good people, you've got to grow them. There's some superstars, there's some ones that have it the minute they come out, but it's pretty rare. So remind yourself, they are a part of the game, they are important in the game, and they have a difference in the game. Coming around to you, your administration roles. Good officiating enhances the experience inside the glass for all of those that are participating on that game sheet. It enhances the environment, certainly, for the parents that are watching the game when they can see a young kid or an official hustle, not miss offsides, get to the line, make the calls that are required to call, and take the game seriously. That goes a long way to enhancing the environment that we have in our rinks. That makes the game great when we have all parties working that way. Good officiating also will reduce the stress, not only on coaches, maybe players as they get older, certainly those spectators that are in invested parents, but also you. There is no question that poor officiating will generate emails. They will generate phone calls for you. It will generate discussions in a rink. It's natural. We said conflict happens. This is a source of conflict. There's no question. So if you can improve that at the grassroots level and at the base level of what we do, it should reap some benefit for you. I wanted to give you a little bit of landscape because a lot of you are that administrator in the game. So I wanted to give you a little bit of idea of numbers. In officiating, we have 6 levels of certification. Level 1 is very, very basic. It is the entry level. And in Manitoba, you have last year reported numbers about 673 officials. You move up into the 366 as level 2s, and the numbers get generally smaller as we move up that pyramid. I'm going to give you an example of how that compares or is part of the big picture with what we deal with as the world's largest officiating body in the world. We have 11,504 level 1s. At this point, I'm going to tell you, level 1s are restricted for kids under the age of 16. That's a big number that we deal with. The kids that are referees that are under the age of 16 and involved in our game. Level 2s, we register 12,000 every year. These are really the 2 areas that most of you are involved with. This is minor hockey. This is entry-level competitive hockey. We're not talking Bantam AAA yet. This is everything really below that. That's a lot of people. And most of them are quite inexperienced. Yes, you could have your experienced level 2s, the guys that want to be involved in Bantam hockey, Bantam House, and they're 40 years old and have been refereeing for 10 years. That's great. But they are only at that level. They're not going up higher because they don't have the talent, they don't have the drive, they don't have the desire to move up. But they're there. But those guys have an important role because they're mentoring on ice. They're working with those newbies. They're working with those young kids. They are your on-ice instructors in a soft way. So you can't forget about that component. You've got to train them too. You've got to show them a little bit of love. You've got to show them that they're important in your game too. Because they're working with the ones that are new. We go all the way up, and so you can kind of see our numbers, and it's a fantastic thing for us to have elite officials in our game. The tough part is finding those that were willing to transfer knowledge down because they're busy. Where's Officer Mahoney? Hey, buddy, those people that thought I had made up that name last night? No, Officer Mahoney's at the back of the room. He's one of your elite that has come through the system. He's also one of the ones that are still involved in an administration in a local area here. You need those people too to sprinkle in and amongst the volunteers that are driving your system. Here's your registration numbers over the last number of years and we use Hockey Canada's registry system to draw these from, and so numbers can be maybe a little bit plus or minus here based on the HCR entry. So you can sort of see, for whatever reason, back in 2012-13, there was a few more referees. But your registration numbers in Manitoba look to stay fairly stable. That's a good thing. You need enough officials to work the hockey games. In some of your areas, that might be a concern, and we'll touch on that here in a second. But the important part for us nationally is we look and see whether or not we're holding our own. Are we staying where we need to be? We realize we're going to have attrition. We realize that we're going to have replacement referees come in and some leave the game. But we're not losing. Our registrations are not dropping to cause us yet a real cause for alarm. So I'm going to ask you now, and those that have got the phones, get ready. But I'm going to ask you, think for a second. Why do you think officials get into this game? Why? What would drive somebody to become a zebra?
Probably love for the game and perhaps wanted to take on a leadership role.
You dream a lot, don't you? Love of the game, leadership role. There's a few. You know, that's pretty real. That's pretty real. When I put my sons in, it cost me money. to send them to the referee course. Because I'm the one paying for the registration because they don't tend to have that checking account. You don't either, do you? Do you know what a check is? No, debit card, who are you kidding? You've got one of the apps too, don't you? The Tim Hortons apps. You don't even know what a piece of plastic is, do you? It's just right on the screen. I don't know. You're my buddy. I know that. We also had, as parents, we have to pay the cost of equipment too. So when my kid gets $25 to go and work a hockey game, they think this is a pretty sweet gig. Like, hasn't cost them any money. Yeah, I spent a little bit of time in another classroom or had to take a course. But now I get some cash in my pocket and it's all mine. Yeah, money's a big thing. I'll tell you why I got involved. My dad said, here's some attributes. Here's some spin-offs for you. You get more ice time. You get a little bit more time to go out and skate. You get a little bit of time to maybe, learn the other side of the game. Little do I know that he was setting me up. Because later on, as I moved through as a player, all of a sudden the coach wasn't too dumb. He goes, oh, so you're a referee. So you know the rules, eh? Okay, so now, next thing you know, guess who's the one going to the referee to question all the calls? Who's the one that had to answer or make a statement about the call that was just made? Anderson, good call or bad call? Nah, I'm playing defense, coach. But it's true, there's a spin-off benefit. There's others too, and you can use this. It keeps them busy. It gives them life skills. They have to manage their own schedule. They have to provide their dark days of when they can't take assignments. They have to be communicators on the ice. They have to be able to take and have a personality. It gives them so many attributes and so many different things. A team environment, a hockey team is great, but they're led as a team. They're designed to work as a team. Officials are too, but oftentimes I'm driving to the rink or getting to the rink and I don't know who my partner is and I'm just going to have to work with them. It gives them so many life skills. It's an attribute. What motivates them? There is a drive for some. Money is certainly one at the beginning years. You know what? It's a paper route that we don't know or don't have or don't know about anymore. It's a job. It's a part-time job for them. It's a great thing. I want to do this. Who wouldn't want? And I'm going to need you to press that button for me, buddy, because it's supposed to. This was on the internet not too long ago, and it's a Canadian daycare, and I chuckle a little bit because this is really not what officiating is really about, and you can tell by maybe the sweaters there, it's not Hockey Manitoba, but it can be a little bit of a challenge. You know, we go out on a Friday night with our wives or our husbands, and we hire a babysitter. Bad connotation, but really, those officials sometimes have a role in the game that is to look after the well-being of our young hockey players. The parents can't help from behind the glass. The coach can only do so much. But with that in mind, we put them in a role to control a situation that sometimes can go a little bit sideways. We put people on our playgrounds to monitor our kids' behavior at recess. Sometimes officials have the same thing. Let's not worry. I'll jump over because I want to move. Why do you think officials leave our game? I'm going to ask you now on your phones to talk with those others at your table. I've populated a couple choices for you here. You're going to be able to slide. This is techie stuff. Are you the techie guy at the table too, pizza guy? Yeah. Awesome. Can you show them how this is going to slide up and down? So on his device, you see he's got one. This is nice. Did you break one to get this new one?
No.
You could be my kid.
Gonna have to pay the bill though.
So you can actually click on these and slide them up and down, and you can rank what you think is maybe one of the top reasons why officials may lose their interest in officiating and leave us. Techie guy, are you sweating a little bit? Yeah. They learn where we play, right? He's got the tools, just takes time to learn. How am I doing? How am I doing for time? Whew. Peter. Okay, I'm going to expedite this because the treadmill just, you know that video Mandy showed last night with all the assembly line with Lucy? That's where we're going to be at right now because the rug's getting pulled here. This is very interesting for me. And it's not that surprising that when posed this question, this would be the number one reason why you think officials leave the game. We at Hockey Canada wanted to know that too, because we were starting to get that question of what are the numbers? Are you losing officials? Are you gaining officials? Do you have any data? Our friends south of the border, USA Hockey, had done one just prior to that. So with this in mind, it's pretty natural to think somebody can not take that abuse that's upon them and off they go. Here's what we did. We wanted to know. So we did a survey. And what we did nationally is we put it back to the branches. And with that in mind, we said go after the ones that do not re-register. So at the end of last season, Hockey Manitoba would have known who finished the season as a registered referee. At the end of the clinic season of the next year, they would do a sort on their database and say this person did not re-register as an official. We then directed them or asked them to send out an email to ask for those people. So we were defining the group that we wanted to survey. And we asked them, why didn't you come back in? With this in mind, I'll go to the sort of the graph or the picture of it here. And abuse is at the bottom of that list of those options that I gave you. It's real, and we can never excuse the environment or make excuses for the environment that some of our people put our young officials or our officials in. It's not acceptable, and yes, it has an impact. As last night, conflict does cause stress. It does cause people to be uncomfortable and feeling unappreciated, and people don't get paid enough for that in a role like that. You wouldn't do it. If you went to work and you were constantly hounded by your boss, it's not going to be an enjoyable experience. So that's very real. But at the end of the day, you as volunteers, you as minor hockey associations, you as stewards of the game, you as conduits to your registered members can send a couple other messages. We've got to appreciate that there's other things out there. I can tell you, you know what? If they're only getting 2 or 3 games a month, that's not what mom and dad signed them up for. They wanted maybe more. The kids can't get good working 2 games a month. They maybe get a chance to get a job at McDonald's or Tim's or wherever it may be. They may, you know what, my kid was 12. At 13, I put him in. He took his first course, loved it, no problem. Next year, he makes Bantam AAA hockey. Now he's got no time to officiate because all of a sudden, he's on the ice too much at that time, and no time to officiate. So there's other reasons that people leave because life is busy. Life has options for us. Politics, assignment, and opportunity. This is where I said earlier, invest in some sort of a background or in a support system because this is what matters. They want to feel that they are looked after, treated fairly, and have opportunity to grow in your game and in your environment. If they realize that, you know what, Todd's getting all the games, I really haven't met or asked your name. Cooper. Hey, good name. Bauer was taken. Sorry. Cooper gets 1 game, I get 5. All of a sudden, Cooper's going to go, this is a little unfair. How come he gets all the games and I don't? His mom and dad are going to go, well, that's not fair. I paid the same amount as him to get games. Politics and assignments. Give kids opportunity to grow. Give them a sense to go out and earn their skills and develop. If you give them the chance, they get that motivation. Because if they're driving and want to skate and they see the chance, hold on, there's a Bantam A game coming up. Or there's an Adam A game. They're going to give me a chance to go work that. Or they get the chance to work the tournament at Christmas time. That's important to them. Those are the kind of things that drive people away too, is when you don't care about the environment. You treat them as an assignment. You treat them as a necessity in the game. They are a part of our game that you've got to grow in culture. Certainly, pay attention to all those kind of things. There's the graphic. Recruitment, and hopefully, Peter, give me a sec here. You need to attract them. You need sometimes. There's areas or pockets of our country that have too many people that want to officiate, and they won't accept them. In Ottawa, they actually did interviews with Cooper. Cooper, why do you want to be a referee? Can you skate? How many years have you been playing? How many days are you available? Cooper, this is an interview. They would interview that young man and say, yeah, do we have an opportunity for him? They would turn people away. Great situation to have, but not too common. You need to attract them. You need to go find them. How and where from? Right now, the big push is on players. Well, guess what? Everybody plays the game. Hey, we're Canadians. I played the game. That's how I got involved in officiating. It's rare that we find somebody that hasn't got a hockey background that puts on skates and a zebra sweater and says, I have a role in the game. But up above now, there's a big push for ex-players. It's a great opportunity. What are you offering them? Cash is great. Cash is wonderful. But think outside the box a little bit. What you offer them. What you offer them in coaches, resource opportunities, mentorship, that matters. That has an impact on them. It has an impact on their parents that are back home saying, keep this up. Man, you're doing good. Money's super. But you show care and compassion and a desire to make them better, that'll have lasting impact. Equipment programs. I heard it last night about, in Minnesota. Cost is a real factor. They have to have a helmet. They have to have a special visor. They have to have a whistle. They have to have a sweater. They have to have black pants. My God, maybe a bag to carry it in. They need a rule book. They might need different shin pads than they play in. There is real tangible things there. Look for cooperation. Look for partnerships to help you out with that. It's tough to win the race if you have to go back to the starter's box. If young officials or officials leave you and you've got to get the new Cooper to come and take a clinic, you're starting over again. If you take the time to grow that field and make them feel good, you lessen the chance of starting over again at the starter's box. And you should be better off for it, because now you've got an experienced official out on the ice, and not necessarily quality necessarily, I'll give you that, but you've got experience and you don't have to invest as much. So it's certainly a benefit. Spend time to take time to review your officiating plan overall. Take a look and say, how many do we have? Take a look and say, do we have enough? Do we have the right mix of age levels? Take time you spend it with your players, you spend it with your coaches. Officials are a big part of your game. I said this last night. If we continue to just think we can put the game on ice and referees will come, and we don't start to think a little bit about how we treat them and how we do things with them, and we just go about time after time, same old routine, we will drive ourselves insane, and that's our biggest challenge nationally right now. Don't stand there and wait for others to help you. You were involved because last night you said and agreed that you got in it to make a difference and to support the environment that you're in. Your local minor hockey association success, your Hockey Manitoba success, needs you to be involved at all levels, and officiating needs to be a big part of that. Don't stand and look for others to come to the rescue. You, in a soft way, whether you're experienced in officiating or not, can have a big impact on the big picture for us. You know what? It's an easily forgotten part of our game, but the challenge is upon you to think about how you could embrace this and how you could grow it, because you know what? There's some pride. When you see the Ryan Galloways, when you see the Von Rodys and the Rob Martells of this world, that you're very proud to say they wear a National Hockey League silver crest on their sweater. They came from your system. There's others, and that's part of what we do. We celebrate our grassroots development that we have an active part in, And yeah, we can recognize at the end some stars, but it's because of the programs that you build and offer, and be a big part of that. Peter, I'm sorry for going over, buddy.